Good morning, YouTube. All right, so what's really holding back Apple Silicon from performing even better than what it is right now? Like, you could literally improve even the M1, okay? Well, I guess maybe it's too late for that. But let's talk about future machines, all right? But even still, what is holding back our current Apple Silicon machines? Performance cores and E-cores, okay? I don't care what combination it is. Could be a 2 to 8, 2 to 10, could be a 4 to 8, 4 to 10, could be 4 and 4, kind of like this thing, 4 and 4. 4 P cores, 4 E cores, okay? The E cores are our problem, okay? Yeah, the computers sip power. They're still not going to use all that much more power if they were all performance cores, realistically, okay? We're still using way less power than any PC out there, even the baddest ass built gamer machine. It'll probably set you back about 70, 80 grand, okay? We could do so much better if it was just all performance level cores, right? I mean, we do have an advantage right away over PCs. Our speed is the same no matter what. So if you have a 3 gigahertz processor in a Mac, or a 4 gigahertz processor in a Mac, or a 5 gigahertz processor, it's the same speed no matter what task you're doing, right? Okay, so we should be able to agree on that because we don't have turbo mode, okay? Now the E cores are not really that much slower than the performance cores, realistically, okay? Now, it may be getting to that point now, yes, but originally, no. I mean, this thing here, the E cores are 3 gigahertz, the performance cores are 3.2. Whoopie ding dong, a whole 200 megahertz difference. Now, if they were all performance cores at 3.2, holy Hannibal Lecter, would that thing ever rock, okay? It really honestly would, with all applications, and we wouldn't have to worry about switching between cores or any other crap, okay? Now, I will say this ahead of time. I might possibly be wrong that the efficiency cores are not in use at all when the performance cores are in use. There is a minor possibility I may be wrong. I don't think I am, though, because of all the testing I've done, which is my argument I've had with 2 people so far, okay, that have mentioned this. And it's kind of like, well, you know what? If you can prove me wrong, by all means, and I'll admit that I'm wrong, but you better have irrefutable proof for that. Otherwise, I'm sticking to my story with all the testing I've done. So let's get that out of the way. Now, as far as the rest of this goes, okay, the processors are definitely holding us back. Ditch the efficiency, give us all performance level chips. Perfect. Okay, so what we're paying for an 8-core machine, or a 10-core, or a 20-core, or a 30-core CPU machine, I want that in all performance cores. I want that power because that is a big holdback. It's a big crippling effect on the systems, okay? Now, second thing, this is where it gets to be a little more interesting, and I'm sure I'll get some arguments from you people, some of you at least, is the operating system is not Apple Silicon certified 100%, okay? It's not taking advantage of the chips properly, okay? Because it's a universal operating system, okay? Just like our apps that say universal in the tag. So if you do a get info on an app, for example, okay, I'll bring up an app, and Steam, okay, how about Steam? Let's do Steam, get info. It says application Intel, which means it needs Rosetta to translate it to run on Apple Silicon, okay? So that actually is a performance hit because you're running an Intel app that is in no way means certified for Apple Silicon, okay? It's not Apple Silicon accelerated, therefore it performs poorer, which means all the games you play on your Steam are also going to perform poorer, right? So it's just the way it goes. Even games that you have that are not even part of Steam, like regular games, for example, let's do a get info on Island Racer, okay? Get info, okay? That says application Intel, okay? Motorbike, which is by the same company, all right? That is application Intel. These require Rosetta, and Apple is, by the way, ditching Rosetta in 2026 out of the OS. Now, I don't know which OS it's going to be in 2026 or exactly when, but I have seen a lot of information on the internet that is all telling us they are ditching Rosetta out. Bye bye! Because they need to get away from the Intel crap completely. It's holding us back. Code of War. Okay, this is a game I've recently downloaded. Application Universal. Okay, so it can run either on Apple Silicon or it can run on Intel. Okay, no big deal. Is it Apple Silicon certified? No, or it would say Apple Silicon only or Apple Silicon, right? Let's try Myth or Reality. Okay, it's kind of an interesting game. Application Intel, right? Minecraft we already know is Java, so we're okay there. TouchGrind BMX. Get info. Application Intel. Holy cow, is there anything here I have that's actually going to be worthwhile looking at? Let's try Frontline 1942. Get info. Intel. Chromag Rally. Get info. Universal. Okay. So far, none of these actually say Apple Silicon. Okay. And the operating system is not 100% Apple Silicon. Because when you download a USB installer for the OS, if you're going to do it that way, and even if you don't, it makes no difference, okay? That USB stick will install on any Intel Mac that supports that OS natively. Or in the case of OpenCore Legacy Patcher, when you hack things, you can run it on any friggin' Mac, including Sequoia. People are putting Sequoia on like 2011 MacBook Pro somehow. And it's like, that is so dumb, okay? Welcome to the thermal overloads. Let's check out a couple other apps though. Okay, Speed Test by Ookla. Okay, Universal app. So it's either or. Okay, but it's not fully accelerated to take advantage of Apple Silicon. Logic Pro. Okay, I'm actually doing an update on that right now. Universal. Okay, GarageBand. Let's do GarageBand. It's Universal. Okay. DaVinci Resolve. Universal. Okay? So, once Apple makes that switch over with not only software, but the operating system to be fully Apple Silicon certified, even our current machines we have now from M1 to M4 are going to perform exceedingly better because now the software and the hardware are tweaked properly together, okay? And that means all the new games, okay? But we'll still be able to run Universal apps regardless. It's the Intel ones will never run again once Rosetta's gone, but the Universal ones will always still be held back in performance areas where they could do better if they were 100% Apple Silicon certified, which they are not when they're saying Universal, all right? So the operating system and the programs are definitely holding us back. What about RAM? Okay, well, RAM's an interesting issue because I have 16 gigs of RAM on my computer and I actually don't do multiple things at once very often. In fact, during the daytime, a lot of what I do is I have Chrome running with 4 tabs open at all times, okay, one of which is usually YouTube. Sometimes I even just take YouTube off and I put the thing in the background and do other things. But I usually have Chrome going, and sometimes I'll have Chrome going and I'll be compressing a video, which is going to really tax the crap out of my computer, all right? Especially if it's a big video that it's got to compress down. Small screenshot videos, no big deal, in, out 2 minutes. It doesn't really even do much to my thermals. But if I'm doing a video that's going to take 5, 7, 10 minutes to compress, because it's freaking huge, okay, then yeah, it's going to tax the living hell out of my computer. I'm going to hit about 87 degrees. My fans are going to kick up around 2400 RPM, you know, on average, you know. So yeah, I'm really pushing things for all they're worth, but I still have lots of RAM left over, okay? And as long as you have RAM in itself always left over without being in swap, it's not gonna be that much of a deal. What makes the deal is how many apps you have that do the rest of the processing power of the computer that slugs it down, okay? So if I try to edit a video and compress something at the same time, because sometimes I do that. This morning I have actually 2 videos in my upload folder already ready to go. Okay, so they've already been edited and compressed and ready to upload. Okay, this video is actually going to be used as a guinea pig as well, not just for uploading to my channel, but it's also going to be used for a guinea pig in the following video, where we're going to show you the difference between video editing on an internal drive versus an external drive in real time. Okay, and we're not doing it as a screen recording because that is going to impede our performance quite a bit. Okay, so we're going to show you what kind of performance is impeded. So we're going to have to change the angle of our iPad here so you can see what's going on, and you guys can time it yourself with your own stopwatch if you want. We're just going to go through things. Okay, so anyway, so we've got an issue with P&E cores. That's a major killer right there. Okay, just having all performance cores alone and having everything else the same way, big improvement on how things are going to work, okay, performance-wise. Getting all the apps to be Apple Silicon only apps. None of this Universal crap, none of this Intel crap, straight Apple Silicon certified apps. And the operating system and all of its software, 100% Apple Silicon only. Now the time is coming. It is going to be coming. But Apple has this thing where they must support a computer for X amount of time before they can just say, oh, we are done with that and you are screwed now. Okay, so they must honor all even current Intel machines until that time comes. So we've got a few years yet left to go before we are going to see 100% everything Apple certified. Okay, so that's, or Apple Silicon certified. So that's going to be the interesting part. However, there will be that time that comes. Now, by the time that time does come around, the M1s will no longer be supported by a current operating system, okay, that will be that way. And same with the software. They will not be supported in that sense because we are looking at that window of the last Intel Macs that were made in 2020. They have till 2030 before they're dead horses, okay? So, and usually it's about 2 or 3 years before that time period hits where Apple will cut off the last OS. So it may very well happen within the next couple of years, but I would still not hold my breath until that 2030 time period. So by 2031, we should have everything 100 proof, Apple Silicon certified right across the board, no universal apps anymore, hopefully, okay? But definitely no more Intel is going to be involved for apps to be able to be run either. And that's going to take place even way before 2030 because of Rosetta being cut off in 2026 at some point. So the Intel apps are actually the first ones to go, that we won't be able to run them anymore. So the only way you would be able to do that is, well, have a external drive with an operating system on it that supports your Mac that does have Rosetta, and then you would be fine. But make sure you set up Rosetta ahead of time, because when they do kibosh it, it may very well be that it may not port, okay, to, like, say, if you're going to stick with Sequoia, for example, okay, it may not report in Rosetta, so make sure that drive is set up ahead of time and activated with your software that you're going to want to run with Rosetta so you can access Intel and also full universal apps regardless. So, but anyways, that's just I know what Apple's up to, okay? I see where things are going, okay? I've been at this game a long time. So anyway, what else is holding these things back? Well, I wouldn't say, you know, RAM is a major holder. As long as you have free RAM, that doesn't affect you, okay? What affects you is when you hit swap. Now, 16 gigs is kind of like becoming the new 8, and it's definitely going to be 100% the new 8 within the next year. Probably year and a half you can slide by with 16 gigs of RAM, and then you're going to have a machine with a lot more RAM in it. Otherwise, you're guaranteed you're going to be going into swap a lot. So 16 gigs is not going to last long, and yet they just started putting 16 gigs in, something they should have done 5 years ago, but they didn't. So there you go. Drive speeds. Now, I don't think drive speeds are really holding us back that much, okay? Now, I've done a lot of testing on my PC because I do have Express 4 and Express 3 slots, and I do have a drive that if I throw it in the Express 4 slot, it gets over 7,000, which is what it's rated for. My current drive is an Express 4 in that slot that's rated for just over 5,000, and it does it. my other drive is in an Express 3 slot, so it only gets 3500 tops because that's the limit of Express 3 or PCI Express 3. So Express 4, I don't know what the actual cap limit is on them. I'd have to look. Then we have Express 5, which is kind of like Thunderbolt 5, right? So now Thunderbolt 3 ports and Thunderbolt 4, there is a slight difference in speed, even though it's 40 gigabits. Well, it's up to. So if you want more closer to the 40 gigabit, you need Thunderbolt 4. Okay, now I have a Thunderbolt 4 cases, but even they will perform faster than what they are now on a Thunderbolt 4 port because I'll get closer to that 40 gigabit, right? Right now, they're not quite getting there because they're in a Thunderbolt 3, but I'm still getting on what's now my boot drive once again, over 3,100 megabytes per second, which is faster than my internal Mac Mini drive. Now, as far as top-end speed, we do need a lot of speed in order to help out things like video editing and rendering, stuff we're adding for transitions and the time it takes. You do need a fast SSD for that. Now, as far as minimum to max, I can't give you that answer. I just know that anything on my PC that I've done, anything past that 5,000 is a waste of bloody speed because games can't take advantage of it. So, but maybe video software might be able to take advantage of 7,000 or more. I don't know because I don't do super heavy duty editing, so I can't give you that answer. Okay, honestly, I can't. But I think that as long as you have, say, between 3,000 to 5,000, I don't see a hang up happening. But we are going to be getting more and more faster SSDs as technology progresses and as Apple lets more of it out, okay? I mean, I'm pretty sure they got a lot of stuff on the back burners. They've probably got like M8s in testing or M10s in testing, along with the other ones they haven't released yet that they got to work bugs out of yet, okay? Apple does a lot of things, which is why they're always ahead of everybody by like probably 2 decades minimum, okay? They're always ahead of the game, right? And they're always thinking ahead. They do think different, but not in a good way usually, so at least not for us. But, and I heard tell that M6s are going to be coming out this year. And I'm like, geez, we just got M4s. Like, seriously, I mean, Apple's going to start hemorrhaging more money again. You know, which they're going to anyways with the M4s, but, you know, still, I mean, seriously, M6s by the end of the year? Like, come on. Like, give it a break, Apple. I mean, I can still export a movie in, like, you know, average movie, I can export out in still about 4 minutes, okay? Anything bigger, well, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, but it doesn't hurt my time frame any, you know? But anyway, it is what it is. And I have done a lot of videos that are screenshot recordings. They will all export within under 2 minutes, even with having other stuff going on with the computer at the same time. So that's pretty quick. Anyway, so that's not bad for an M1 that's still kicking around and screaming. But I think we've pretty much covered the drawbacks here of Apple. So we've got software as an issue, we got the OS as an issue, we got the P&E core thing as an issue. These things all need to be resolved. And they could have been resolved a lot quicker, but because Apple still has to support those Intel users for a few more years, that is what's holding us back in a lot of areas, including the operating system. Because even though Apple could literally change their servers so that if you had an Apple Silicon Mac, you would only get an Apple Silicon Accelerated OS and you could only download an Apple Accelerated OS, they could do that, but for what it would take to do that, I think that's why they don't, because of the time consumption, the porting of the portals and all that other jazz for the internet, you know, server downloads and all that. It's probably why they don't. So I don't honestly blame them completely, okay? But anyhow, what else could be holding us back? Well, I don't think there's really that. Well, the graphics. We need more GPU cores, and we need more RAM, really, to feed the GPU cores. more effectively, because they put everything on the SoC except for the drives, right? So, and because it is shared video with the system RAM and all that, right? It's like one set of RAM chips or one RAM chip, whatever. Even if they don't give us separate dedicated RAM, which would be a smart thing to do and separate the GPU, I think that if they gave us more GPU cores, even at the lesser price tag, and they allowed us more RAM so that we could have the more RAM for the programs. Because see, you got your OS, right? The OS right now chews up 7 gigs, right? And then you've got your program for what it wants to launch, and then you've got the graphics in that program, what it needs for GPU power. So you need a lot of RAM to do it, and still have leftover RAM so you don't hit swap. But you need enough GPU cores to actually get the performance. So we need a lot more than like 8 GPU cores or 20 GPU cores or 30 GPU cores, right? But we also need the price to be competitive enough that it's going to be financially feasible, right? And they can do it. They just want to do their whole Apple tax on us, right? So anyways, but I think that would probably be another holder, is the lack of GPU cores for a lot of stuff. Not just gaming, okay, but other things too. We could benefit from a lot more GPU cores, and we could benefit from a minimum of, say, 32 gigs of RAM in a Mac, of any Mac. 32 gigs would be the base where I'd start at. I would not consider 16. Like if I buy a new Mac this year, for example, I'm going with 64 gigs, not just because I need to be good for the next 5 to 10 years, because I know it would be, but it's also for the simple fact that I know the demands of these systems. I know the demands of the software that I currently run and want to run and will be able to run with the new system. I need that amount of RAM, okay? So, and I wouldn't go anything less even in a studio. When the Studio M4s come out, I would not go less than 64 gigs, okay? But we can talk about that in a whole other video, where we should be at with each level of a Mac, what we should realistically be doing. But I think on one side of the fence, the minimum amount of RAM should actually be 32 gigs. Because this 16 thing, like I said, year and a half. 24 gigs, you might get 2 to 3 years, only if you're a light user. But if you're doing anything serious, now you need a hell of a lot more RAM than that, okay? And it's kind of fact. But anyways, that's a whole other videos. Meantime, stay tuned for our next one for the video editing process, where we're going to go internal versus external and show you what the real world difference is in real time. And then you can see why I keep pushing that you should be doing this internally only. Anyways, or in this case, a boot drive, okay, as my thing. So anyways, see ya.